सहना भवतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यङ्करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः. Closing the eyes gently. Taking the time to arrive, to be with oneself. Head, neck and back are in a single straight line for this small meditation. Eyes are softly closed. Paying attention to the breathing and ensuring that the exhalation and inhalation are of equal length. Offloading from the heart, the mind, all that does not belong. And how does one do that? By seeing that when one visualizes something innocuous, like a flower, a meadow, a river, etc., these things bring one joy because there is no agenda, generally speaking, where these things are concerned. I don't have an agenda for a meadow of flowers, a garden. Likewise, things like mountains, rivers, the smile of a small baby, invoke in me a person who is non-demanding. appreciative, and contented. This is already who I am, but the presence of things like a river, etc., bring out the pleased self, the non demanding self, the Advaita self, the self that is naturally one with everything, means the self that is naturally pleased, accepting, accommodative, can I have this experience when I relate to people? Perhaps people in general, I can be non demanding, contented, and objective person. But what about people close to me? I visualize the Father. Immediately, we can see that there is a difference between the Father and the river. The river, it is easy to see, is external to me. What about the Father? The Father is both internal in the form of expectations, unmet expectations, and external, however, the Father is or was. This is what Bhagavan Krishna means when he says, Sparshan Bahyan Bahihi Kritva. Keep the external world external as a preparation for meditation. How does one do that? By taking the time to acknowledge that this is how Father is or was in my perception. I take the time to grant the Father the freedom to be whoever he was or is. The extent to which I am able to do this is the extent to which I can be free of the expectation that he should be different or he should have been different. Mother, same thing. Retaining the love and the care for the mother, I take the time to grant her the freedom to be however she was, however she is in my perception. This is how Mother was according to me. The extent to which I can grant her the freedom is the extent to which I can allow the non-demanding, contented, and objective person to prevail upon the situation. The mother's attitude or the father's behavior cannot touch me. Chidanandarupa Shivoham Shivoham. Their attitude is their attitude, was their attitude. I am free of the expectations which are a superimposition, so to speak, on the I that is naturally free of all expectations. What about this body? Is it external or is it internal? Let's find out by watching the body. From head to toe, as though one is seated in front of a full-length mirror. This is how the body is. So many things I cannot change. Height, general weight, color of skin, etc. Predilection to certain diseases, chronic or acute. If I can watch this body, who is the watcher? The indweller, a conscious being, is watching this body. The one who is watching the body is by nature an appreciative, non-demanding, objective, and contented person. Purusha. Sarvan Purayati iti Purusha. That which fills up everything in the form of this Chit, consciousness. Chidanandarupa Shivoham Shivoham. The body is a casing for the I, so to speak. What about the mind? If I can watch the mind, the watcher is different from the mind. The mind is me, no doubt, but I transcend the mind. Thoughts come and go. I can remain with myself without identifying with the thoughts, nor chasing them away. I am free, I am whole, I am objective, non demanding, appreciative, and a contented person. This I is naturally one with everything, always. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. When you're ready, you may please open your eyes. Adveshta sarvabhutanam maitrah karuna eva cha nirmamo nirahankarah samadukha sukha kshami. From the 12th chapter, talking about the nature of the person who is a jnani, the one who has understood the truth of the I. And we are in the process of seeing this, and we are in the process of seeing how the jnani is the main thing about the jnani we saw last time is that does not take on other people's issues, understands that there is a natural space between the I, the person, and whatever else is put on by other people's ragas, dveshas, and whatever it is, their personalities. The jnani deals with people as purusha, person. The personality is optional here to relate to. Generally, in the world, people relate to personality. This is a very interesting thing because that is where the fun lies. Because that is where the changes are there, and that is where you can get upset with somebody and then you can make up with them, and that is where there is a uniqueness, or so it is thought. That is where all these things lie. But it is also a lot of drama, up and down and all around. It's a panorama of drama, and everybody in the world becomes a drama king and a drama queen. This is what happens because one is constantly relating things that change. Things that change within oneself are invoked, such as a bunch of raga and dvesha. They are given airtime, they are put on the throne, and they interact with who? Not with people, with other people's raga and dveshas. So it's a bunch of raga dveshas going and saying hello to another bunch of raga and dveshas. This is what happens. That's why, when people go to these various dating sites, matrimony sites, then they are asked to record their likes and dislikes. What are the, because the computer will then match you up, supposedly match the person up with somebody else, and so you please record your likes and dislikes. You tell what you like and you make a list. I like reading, I like bicycling, I like going to movies. Of course, when there is no pandemic, okay? And then what do you not like? I don't like arguments, I can't handle conflict, and I don't like dogs or cats, whatever you want, you put. You put like this, and then the computer matches up what, and then matches up your likes and dislikes, your raga and dveshas with another person's, many people's raga and dveshas, and when there is a more than a 50% match, then it is deemed to be this person. Okay, you can get to know this person, you can exchange your phone number with this person, and perhaps this is a match. In fact, better was our system, our ancient system, where the horoscopes were matched. And why were the horoscopes matched? Because the horoscopes are a manifestation of Bhagavan. The time of the person's birth is a manifestation of Bhagavan in that particular life. So basically, the planetary movements etc. were matched. That was actually better. There was a science behind it, because one is still looking for the permanent in the Hindu tradition. But here it's just one bunch of raga dveshas trying to get along with another bunch of raga dveshas, and the problem with that is that the raga dveshas are fickle. They are chanchala, like the mind, they keep changing. So when the raga dveshas are in sync, one says, I am in love, I have fallen in love. And when the raga dveshas are not in sync, when they change, then what happens? Then the person is no longer in love, out of love. This is how the regular people deal with their objects of love, or even friendships. Friendships are also based on similar likes and dislikes. But that is not how the jnani relates to the world. This is something which is what is talked about in the very first verse of what we are seeing here in this series. That the person is adveshtri, a non-hater, no raga dvesha. There is only a relating to the person. The person in me is the person in you, and that person is who I relate. And in that relationship, there is no up and down, there is just an unconditional, constant oneness, compassion, and ananda, the dynamic form of ananda, interpersonally, expressed or talked about as love. That is all that there is. So, Sarva Bhutanam, with regard to all beings, because the Jnani knows that there is only one I, and that one I is, so to speak, in everything. That one I for Ishvara, is in everything and everybody, so there is no need to look at the changing raga dveshas. They don't matter to the Jnani. The Gnani relates to you just as the Gnani relates to him or herself. The Gnani does not see him or herself as the sum total of this body, mind, sense complex. The Gnani does not see him or herself as the force, through the force or the lens of the likes and dislikes. The Gnani sees him or herself as Satchidananda Swarupa. And the Gnani sees you also as that same Satchidananda Swarupa. This is something which is very beautiful. And therefore, Adveshta Sarvabhutanam. There is no raga, no dvesha in relating to anybody, because this understanding is there, and the ability, because of the prasada of this knowledge and the prasada, the grace of the Guru, etc., and Ishvara, which has allowed this knowledge to come to your life. Because of that, one is able to transcend in one's relationships the body, mind, sense complex of oneself and others. So if somebody gets mad, there is immediately a way of accommodation. There is an accommodation. There is an ability to accommodate. There is an ability to not take it personally. And yes, last session we talked about depersonalization of other people's issues. This is exactly how it is, the ability to let go, the ability of prevailing above and beyond the issues that may be put forward, because the people in the world do not have a way of processing them. Perhaps they just lay it all on the Gnani. And so this is where the inner maturity and the force of the teaching comes to being. In the Jnani's everyday relationships, there is no drama. The drama quotient is gone. And the drama, the D is gone, D for dysfunctionality, leaving only Rama to prevail. Rama means Ramante Yasmin Yoginaha. Ramante Yasmin Yoginaha. That in which all the yogis revel. And if the yogis revel, that means what? It is a place for everyone to revel. Because, and what do the yogis revel in? Atma Rama, one's own self. And this is exactly what is being talked about here. And we have seen this in detail, just summing up this verse. And then Maitraha. Maitraha is the abstract noun of Mitra. Mitra means friend. Actually, it's a neuter noun. Mitram. So, friend. And so, Maitraha means a friendliness, the one who has a certain friendliness. So, why is the Jnani not called a friend? Why the use of the abstract noun? There is a reason, there is a wonderful reasoning behind that. Because if you say the Jnani is a friend, the word friend is fraught with a lot of expectations. You are my friend and you didn't wish me a happy birthday? What kind of a friend are you? Where is my present? And not only that, then there is resentment in the heart, because during your birthday, I not only wished you, but also got you a present and threw you a surprise party. And nothing is coming for me. Nothing is coming from you for me. And so there is a resentment, there is disappointment. And again, friend makes mistakes. Oh, you hurt me because you said this. Well, I didn't intend to. I'm so sorry this happened. But still there is a bad taste. Why did you say this? And then the friend also, again, is not infallible body-wise. Because the friend can get sick. The friend can leave. The friend can move to another town. All those things are there. The friend can unfriend you on Facebook. Because there's all these, new ways of friendships now. This is all on social media. You can unfriend somebody, you can unfollow somebody. And in the olden times, if you followed a preceptor or a guru, then this was a lifelong thing. But now you can follow, you can unfollow, you can do all kinds of things. So you can befriend someone over the social media, and then you can unfriend them also. That's why the word friend, mitra, is not used, or sakha is not used. What is used instead is maitraha, the quality of friendliness, the one who has, is being discussed here. Friendly to all. There is no BFF, you are my best friend forever. This is what teenage children say. I got a card from a 12-year-old. Will you be my BFF? She had asked. So, like that, So, there is no such kind of an exclusivity in the word, in this beautiful abstract noun, maitraha. Mitrasya bhava. There is a kind of a, that the friendly quality, the disposition of a friend the jnani has. Meaning, they will be quick to come to your aid if you ask. They will be ready to do something for you. They will be happy to help if some help is needed, without needing anything else in return, without wanting you to do the exact same thing for them. This is what is Maitraha. Very, very nice. This is Maitraha. And because, if it is a friend, then again you immediately have some problems are there. Because the friend will have certain hidden agenda, certain expectations, certain issues. Here the Jnani is one who has recognized that I am everything. I am reveling in my glory. The self is everything. The one who has recognized that is the Jnani. And so the Jnani doesn't have any pressure of wanting something from anybody who is relating to the Jnani. And therefore, Maitraha, friendly towards all, and adveshta, towards none, non hatred towards anybody, we are non hatred towards all, friendliness towards all. Then the next word that follows is karunaha. Karuna means compassion. And you see, this word compassion is very, very, what's the word for it? It's become kind of a commonplace word, and it is fraught with various notions. It's fraught with all kinds of notions about what it should mean. The compassionate person must be very kind. Bhagavan should be compassionate. So if Bhagavan is compassionate, what does that mean? Bhagavan is compassionate means he should give me, or she should give me, whatever I want, I should get. Because Bhagavan is compassionate. This is not compassion. It is similar to how a mother is. The mother doesn't give the child everything that it wants. And sometimes, because of the compassion, the mother doesn't give the child what it wants, because it is not good for it. The mother knows, the parent knows, the father knows that this is not the right thing right now. So compassion, we have a very strange idea, especially when we are talking of Bhagavan or a Jnani. And often there is this misunderstanding that a compassionate person is like a doormat, a welcome mat on the door where everybody wipes the feet, and the doormat does not respond, the doormat does not try to protect itself. And the doormat allows itself to, it becomes a sitting duck for all kinds of use and abuse. And some kind of a martyrdom here. And in fact, the more one is a martyr, the more compassionate one is. These are all some kind of, I don't know what to call them. They are some strange stereotypes, misunderstood stereotypes about compassion. Very interesting. And the first thing to do here is to understand the word karuna from the standpoint of what the Upanishad says and what the Bhagavad Gita says. And here, karuna means the one who has, the one who is able to accommodate everything. And that is going to be a separate word, kshami, that is going to be used at the end of this verse. The one who is accommodative is the compassionate person. The compassionate person is compassionate because they are able to see that you are doing your best, but even though you are doing your best, you have, let's say you have an outburst, they are able to accommodate that outburst, not excuse it. And it's not about not holding you accountable, but in their view of you, that this outburst or whatever one, somebody has said, in their view of the person, the outburst is included compassionately. There is no agenda to either correct the person or to take revenge upon the person or to teach them a lesson. This is what is compassion here. Instead, they will see what is the best thing for this person right now. How can I help this person? Exactly like a mother that might be trying to calm a tantruming child. So too, the Jnani, maybe will teach one Upanishad, and if that doesn't work, another Upanishad or another mantra from something or whatever it is to make the person understand. This is what the whole thing is. So compassion is not something that, it's very interesting because it's not something, it is one's nature. So it is not something to be cultivated per se, but yet ironically it is something to be lived. In fact, the compassionate person alone can be compassionate. One is naturally compassionate, and when one is in touch with that compassion, one can be compassionate. And one cannot be compassionate unless one is in touch with that compassion. And to be in touch with that compassion, there is a certain sadhana or cultivation that one can help oneself with. And this helping oneself with the ability to recall or call that compassion forth is an important step in becoming a jnani, in becoming one with the teachings. It's an important part of waking up to the fact that Advaita is part of the daily life. So one recognizes the compassion by being compassionate. There is no other way. Just like you learn to swim how? By actually swimming, by actually getting into the water, flailing around and then finding which movement works. And then you rise to the top. Oh, okay, there is still hope. And then perhaps you can perfect the moves with the help of a swimming coach. But naturally there is a law of buoyancy, and naturally there is some floating happening, and then you learn to work with the various moves, the body parts, the appendages, and see how to keep afloat. Same thing here. You discover compassion, you cultivate compassion by engaging in deliberate acts of compassion. Let us think, the one way to think of this compassion is like a wrongly imprisoned entity, imprisoned by the bars of raga and dvesha, calluses of old hurts, fears, sorrows, pains, resistance, misinformation, misunderstanding, misidentification. These are the bars of the cage in which poor compassion is held hostage. So, it's not a question of bringing in compassion, of buying compassion somewhere from the outside and putting it in, lodging it in the heart. It's already there. The bars of the cage are slowly dismantled. They are slowly dismantled. How? By looking to see, by seeing that they are not as real as the compassion that is imprisoned in them. Very interesting. The bars of the cage belong to a different order of reality than what is in the cage, that is an expression of you, an expression of Satchidananda, an expression of that consciousness that is free, unaffected by sorrow, fear, etc., that is all limitlessly whole, that is joyous, that is without a second. And if this consciousness is all knowing, all pervasive, who can imprison it? How can it be imprisoned? Who can constrain it? Who can catch it? Who can lock it up? It cannot be imprisoned because the bars of the cage, whether it is resistance, fear, sorrow, raga, dvesha, etc., they are all not belonging to the same order of reality as the compassion of which we speak. They belong to the vyavaharika satta, these bars of the cage, raga, dvesha, etc. Vyavaharika satta means they are real because they are felt, but they belong to the transactional reality. Vyavaharika satta. Transactional reality, or what is called the empirical reality, they belong to that. Whereas the compassion belongs to a different realm of reality. The only thing that is there, the only realities that is there, that is in Sanskrit called paramarthika, the absolute. And one is already one with the absolute, and the relative cannot touch the absolute, primarily because the relative is relative, the absolute is absolute. How can the absolute be affected by the relative? It is illogical. And second, and more importantly, second reason why the relative cannot affect the absolute is because the absolute, the relative, sorry, depends upon the absolute for its very being. The relative is an as though projection of the absolute. Just like the light that casts a shadow. The shadow cannot exist, you know, other than when there is the presence of light alone. Shadow is. Shadow is, the isness of the shadow belongs to the light. Similarly, raga is, dvesha is, fear is, and all these things that hold the compassion hostage is. The isness of these emotions are dependent upon the only thing that is, which is that consciousness, Satchidananda Atma, the I. The raga dvesha borrow the isness, so to speak, from Satchidananda, just like the shadow borrows its existence and depends upon its existence on the light which casts the shadow. So therefore the shadow cannot go rogue and threaten to swallow the light. like Rahu and Ketu, which come and they eclipse, so to speak, the sun. We say Rahu is trying to swallow the sun, Ketu is trying to swallow the sun. But that is again from from the standpoint of somebody who doesn't know. Adi Shankara, who wrote the Dakshinamurti Stotram, has a very different view of the this the eclipse. राहुग्रस्थ दिवाकरेन्दु सदृशो माया समाच्छादनात् सन्मात्रः करणोपसंहरणतो यो भूत् सुषुप्तः पुमान्. So he says that this eye is like even the sun, that is as though eclipsed by Rahu. Because that which makes you say, OMG, the sun is being swallowed up by this eclipse, is what? Is the sun alone. That sun alone is allowing you to see the eclipse, to view the eclipse. And that sun, like consciousness, which is all light, self effulgent, all pervasive, all knowing, all knowledgeable, without a trace of sorrow, without a trace of fear, has to be limitless, has to be limitlessly compassionate. No other option is there for this eye. And what about the bars of the cage? The bars of the cage are as though bars. Like the eclipse is as though. There is no Rahu swallowing. And the shadow, which is supposedly the shadow of the moon, which is swallowing the sun. When we attend the geography class, we are told this. It's the shadow of the moon that is swallowing the sun, so to speak. That shadow depends upon the light of the sun. So the whole thing is an optical illusion in case of the eclipse. And in case of the person who thinks that the compassion is all completely locked up, it is, it is a notional delusion. It's a delusion. It's a wrong understanding. And just like, in the if you go to a prison complex, we see that there are certain rules for the people who are imprisoned. What is the rule? 1 hour a day they should get air time, fresh air, sunshine. They should be let out. Of course, within some kind of a facility. It's not that they are let out completely. And same exact thing we have to do to this supposedly incarcerated compassion. We let it out for 1 hour a day. Give it some air time. Let it move its hands and legs. Aage, piche, upar, niche. Let it do some exercises. Let it have its, little time. Let it do a few laps around the cage. And let it be. This is exactly what one has to do. You have that power. And this is Advaita in daily life. Not heeding the mithya. Mithya means dependent reality. Not heeding that shadow like raga, dvesha, fear, resistance. And instead, overriding that with the force of one's sankalpa and with the shraddha that this is really me and I'm going to allow my real self to shine at least for an hour a day. And this is when some people raise their hands, there is one, what is there is one this thing also, what is that, there is one raise hand feature also. See, now I have raised my hand. So okay, what is the question? This is Zoom Purva Paksha Siddhanta. Okay, yeah. So okay, what is the question? The question is, for 1 hour a day, if I have to, bring out the compassion compassion, and if I have to do this, then would I not just be pretending? I don't want to be I don't want to be a pretender. I'm just pretending because I don't particularly feel compassionate for 1 hour a day. Am I not just pretending? Well, no. Because in fact, if you're able to manage to be compassionate, to bring out the compassionate from the trappings of the raga dvesha and the resistance and the fear and the sorrow, then what you have accomplished is something amazing, because that's the only hour that you haven't pretended. That is the hour that you have completely been yourself. This is exactly what the teaching is. This is how the whole thing proceeds. Is that slowly, baby steps. If 1 hour is too much, then you start with half an hour, no problem. And then, then another Brihaspati means a very clever person, someone who thinks of himself, herself as clever, has one more question. So that's why the hand is already raised. So what is the question? The question is, can that hour be during my sleep? What is the answer? The answer is no, it cannot be during the sleep. It has to be during during your waking hours. Now I can't seem to appear to get rid of this no. I don't know what to do. See, this is what happens when you play with things you're not supposed to. So okay, now all of them are gone. Wonderful. Okay, so it cannot be during your sleep. It has to be when you are actually engaged in the universe of people, situations, events, and things. And so, what does it mean to free that compassion? Yeah, for 1 hour. 1 hour is nothing. You can do anything for an hour. Think about all the things that you've done that you haven't thought you could for an hour. An hour is nothing. And like I said, if an hour is too much, start with half an hour. And so what do? How do you bring this out? You don, you make the heart wear an orange dhoti or sari for 1 hour. And then you say, okay, for 1 hour I have taken sannyasa. Oh, from all my relationships, from all my possessions? No, from my raga and dveshas, because that is really the essence of sannyasa anyway. So give yourself the blessing of renouncing the raga dvesha for 1 hour a day. And so you do contrary to how you feel. That is really what it is. You make yourself with gritted teeth do something against your raga, against your dvesha, against your resistance, by suspending the judgment therein, whatever the judgments are, whatever the fears are. You take a chance. But what if the other person doesn't respond? Remember, this is a Vedanta homework. The other person definitely will not respond, and it is not about the other person at all. Who is wanting to grow? Me. Who is wanting to outgrow the raga dveshas? Me. And who is wanting to have a taste of being a jnani for an hour a day? Me. So in fact, Bhagavan engineers things in such a way that one is surrounded by people who are there to help you to bring out that compassion, who constantly rub against the raga and dveshas in interesting ways. I mean, just one teenager at home is enough, okay? Yeah, they help you to bring out the compassion you never thought you had. And how do they do it? Simply by pressing every button that you never thought you had. And so this is what the beauty of relationships are. It's a win-win situation. You learn compassion, and then they are very happy because the significant other is thrilled, because you are more and more compassionate towards towards their predicament, towards their situation. You are less reactive, as this very verse is going to show later on. You are less reactive, you are more compassionate, you are more accommodative. And then they will say, if at all they were earlier thinking that you are ignoring them and studying Vedanta too much, they will themselves say, please go and study more Gita, attend more satsangs. They will give you more freedom. You see, it's a win-win situation. It's a wonderful situation. So the compassion is made to come out to play by suspending consciously and deliberately the raga and the dvesha, the resistance, the fears. You take a chance, you take a leap of shraddha. That is what Hanumanji did when he went from he jumped from India to Sri Lanka. He didn't know what was going to come. He didn't know. Sita is here, compassion. That is what Sita represents. Sita is peace. Sita is Shanti. A lost Sita is a terrible thing. And so Hanumanji goes. And Hanumanji is the embodiment of Shraddha, which gives us a sense of what is the metaphor here and what it takes here. And Hanumanji doesn't know even he can jump. Another elderly Vanara that is present there says, don't you forget, did you forget that you are Vayu Putra and you have the ability to jump? No, did you forget that when you were a small child, you jumped straight out of the earth and swallowed the early morning sun, mistaking it to be an apple? Did you forget that? And then all the three worlds were in great difficulty. They were all in darkness, nothing grew. And then everybody came, and all the sages, saints, and devas came and requested you to spit out the sun. Don't you remember? He had forgotten his own strength. And because the compassion, which is actually one's shanti, one's peace of mind, that everlasting peace, is because of being in touch with the compassionate I, in bringing out the compassionate I more and more to play. And that shanti, that is what was lost by the Rakshasa Ravana of Raga and Dvesha, who stole the Shanti away, even though she didn't want to go. She didn't want to leave the heart. The heart was the rekha, the parameters of not transcending certain ways of being. But the Shanti came under the spell of a asura, a demon-like being, and got lost. And everybody thought, okay, maybe she is in this place. And Hanumanji was asked to jump. And when that elderly Vanara, and we shouldn't say monkey, because they were not monkeys. Naro va nava iti shanka, meaning we don't know if they were human beings or not. So they were some kind of a humanoid race. So this elderly Vanara says, you can do it. You can jump. And the elderly Vanara is in the place of a teacher who says, you can come back. Metaphorically signifies the teacher who resuscitates the courage in the student to say, to see, you can do it. And the leap itself is the leap of Shraddha. Faith pending understanding. It's the leap of Shraddha. And that is very, very important. Shraddha is what allows one to cross the ragadveshas, cross the ocean of samsara in this case, because that ocean, which as we know from the Ramayana, he meets so many demonic beings, yeah, in the course of jumping through the ocean, but because of the shraddha he is able to conquer all of the resistance, all of the blockades, all of the obstacles, and get to the destination. Destination is again Sita, which represents Shanti, which represents, and that Shanti is the phala. Phala means the fruit, the result of compassion. Compassion means overcoming that conflict, overcoming fear, overcoming sorrow, overcoming despair. And Hanumanji is an embodiment of Shraddha and Bhakti, and that is the bridge. This Shraddha and Bhakti are the bridge to letting this compassion, freeing the compassion from the Ravana of Raga and Dvesha, and letting it come out and play. Very, very beautiful. And so Adveshta Sarvabhutanam Maitraha Karuna Evacha. Then some more words are there. No need to rush. We will see them next time. And I don't know when the next time is, but we will let you know. We will see. I think there was some flyer that went out, if I'm not mistaken. Was there a flyer about when the next meeting is? Does anybody know? Does anybody remember? I don't know if we have set a date for the next meeting, but we will let you know. So I will say the closing prayer, and then we'll have a lot of time for discussion. And I think I was also supposed to talk about the Shama, Dama, etc. I can do that also. I have left some time for that. ॐ पूर्णमदः पूर्णमिदं पूर्णात् पूर्णमुदच्यते पूर्णस्य पूर्णमादाय पूर्णमेवावशिष्यते ॐ शान्तिः 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 हरिः ॐ श्रीगुरुभ्यो नमः हरिः ॐ. Yeah, thank you. April 18th. Yeah, and what time? Is it the same time? Same time, yeah. Same time, Eastern time, 9 o'clock in the morning. Okay, so now if people have questions, you can unmute yourself and ask, or you can type in the chat pod. And if there are no questions, I will take the time to talk about the Shama, Dama, etc., which I had said last time I would do. Okay. So I forget exactly in what context, but I think somebody had asked the question, how does this relate? How do the gain of the six sampat, means the six treasures, relate to this becoming a jnani? There was some kind of a question last time, and that is how this came up. So the this Shraddha that we highlighted today as a precursor to discovering, to rediscovering the compassion, is one of those six-fold sampat, or this treasure. So you can see already we have discussed Shraddha in detail. Shraddha is the ability to trust, despite one's life giving no chance for trust. Despite being hurt many, many times, one gives oneself a chance to trust again, and to trust that this knowledge will work, to trust that compassion will be freed. This is what the whole thing, this is what Shraddha is. So like this Shraddha, we have some other, what is that called, six pack of attitudes to cultivate in order to qualify for this knowledge. So they are as follows: Shama, Dhamma. They go together. Actually, we should discuss Dhamma first. Bahyendriya Nigraha Damaha. Dhamma means the having a say over the organs of action. Suddenly, one feels like hitting somebody, but one doesn't hit because it's the wrong thing to do. It's not dharmic. This is Dhamma. And Yukta Cheshta Damaha, according to the Bhagavad Gita, 6th chapter. Yukta Cheshta means movement. So one's movements must be deliberate, and one cultivates a say over the ways of the organs of action such as hands, legs, etc. One does not just keep on just, moving the hands and legs for no reason at all, because you are the master of your organs of action. So this is Dhamma. And then Shama means the internal restraint. So the inner organs, the antahkarana means the instrument of knowing, buddhi, manaha, the faculty of the faculty which filters all the fancies, manaha, buddhi, the decisive faculty, and chittam, emotions, ahankara, the one that identifies with all this as I. All these are called, together are called antahkarana. Manobuddhi ahankara chittani. This is called antahkarana, this inner instrument. And so having a say over the ways of the mind. How do we do that? Meditation. So Dhamma, corresponds to Karma Yoga. That is called, that is, the Dhamma is cultivated primarily through Karma Yoga, etc. And Shama is cultivated through meditation, and also Karma Yoga, that component of Karma Yoga where you cultivate prasada buddhi. You see that you are the recipient of action, the results of action, and the results of action are a gift from Bhagavan, it might look however contrary it might look to what you want. And so you allow yourself to cultivate what is called prasada buddhi. So this is all Shama and Dhamma. Then we have Uparati, letting go of things that don't matter. So you look around the room and see so many things are there, and some things don't matter. You allow them to go. And same thing in the world of relationships. Somebody says something that is wrong. Let's say you are in a group of people and somebody says this is Monday, when clearly it is not a Monday. And then you just think about it and say, you know what? This is not worth my time. I'd rather spend it in gaining emotional maturity. I'd rather not go here and try to do something. This is not worth my time, and therefore what? I'm just going to let this go. Uparati. So first you drop things that don't matter, and with the rise of knowledge in the heart, with the strengthening of the foothold of Vedanta in the heart, more and more things matter less and less. This is something so beautiful. More and more things matter less and less, and that is what is called uparama or uparati, letting go of the small stuff, letting go of the medium stuff, then letting go of the big stuff also. Uparati. And then what? Then we have titiksha. Titiksha is the ability to undergo some difficulties for the sake of this knowledge in one's life. Because everything one is doing is for self growth. In the process of self growth, there may be some difficulties, external difficulties, too hot, too cold, all that, internal difficulties, some discomfort, some hurt, some pain, some whatever it is, one presses the override button because one is interested in something else, not in trying to make the present pleasant. One is wanting to discover that the self is already pleasant, and one is not depending upon the external circumstances in order to be happy. This is uparati. And then we have one more. Samadhanam is the single minded focus, the ability to just hone in to Vedanta, without needing to have many other things on the burner. On one screen, I'm listening to Vedanta. On another screen, I'm following the stock market. Not like that. Samadhanam, single-minded focus towards the goal of becoming a jnani, freeing oneself from samsara. And then Shraddha, of course, we have discussed at length the ability to regain that lost trust, the trust that was lost in childhood because of the fallibilities of the mother, father, primary caregivers, etc. And that trust is regained once more, and that trust is abided in, and this is Shraddha, trust pending understanding. I too will gain this, I too will have this, I too will be free. This is what the whole, this is how one is, this is what is called Samadhi Shatka Sampatti, and the more one cultivates this, the easier it is to gain this knowledge and to discover oneself as a appreciative, non demanding, contented, and objective person. Thank you. Om Tat Sat. Any questions are there? Uh, we are having a retreat that is going to come up from the Shivananda ashram, and I'm just going to paste the flyer here, and you can download it from the chat box if you don't have it yet. And let me just, it's some talks on the Kathopanishad, and so I will put it here and you can download it. There you go. You're welcome. Everyone is welcome to attend. Thank you. Take care. Om.